Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Yeah, I don't normally do the same game 2 weeks in a row, but I have been working on the Convergence Archipelago, and it's now at a pretty good spot. I wouldn't say it's done or anything. But it's pretty close. We have it now where it actually randomizes items in it's still Limgrave only, and this goal is still to just kill Godric. But it now randomizes items in Limgrave from the entire game, including the DLC, if you want. So there's 3 different settings then. You can just randomize the items in Limgrave itself, or from across the whole game, or from the whole game plus a DLC. And that's what I got here. And it's pretty good. And on top of that, it also randomizes the infusions of weapons. So you can find like a quality Estoc or a Dragonkin Great Star or something, which I didn't even tell it to do. I think it ended up being an accident that when I told it to just randomize items in the whole game, it just ended up that way. And I was like, well, that's great, but let's put that as a setting. So there's a Death Spiked Club +1. Because then I was like, well, I kind of want it like Dark Souls 3 Archipelago, where you can actually set, like, you can have it randomize the bonus on the weapon as well. And you can set, like, sort of a limit or something like that of the highest the bonus gets. But there's Godslayer Longsword, for example. And also you can set now the random bonus that Summoning Ashes can provide. So it's pretty good. The only thing that I'm going to want to change at this point, assuming everything keeps working, I want to actually make sure that it gates off Godric until you have the required number of Stormveil sigils, so that you can't actually even fight Godric until you have them. Supposedly that setting is in play, but I haven't tested enough to check it out. And then I also want to have it... there's a lot of classes that don't start in Limgrave in Convergence. Many of them do, but not all of them. And so I want to see if we can just adjust that or have them just start at, like, the normal start of the game. You know, next to that one guy. Wow, that is a very abundant section. And then, yeah, and at that point, I don't know. It might be close to, like, beta release sort of thing. I'm not planning on putting it anywhere, especially because I don't think the Discord is super chill when it comes to, like, modded runs, but I'm not sure. And mostly I just don't want, because it's like, look, I get it. Like, it's vibe coded, if that's what you want to call it. Like, it's entirely LLM coded. I didn't put in a single bit of... I don't know how to code, all right? And granted, yes, it works. It's playable. I've played it. It's fun. It's very cool. But I know some people are just not cool with that, and I would just get a lot of bullshit comments. And on top of that, like, I don't know if I really want to support it at all. So I could put it out there and just be like, look, here it is. It's vibe coded. I don't know any of the code that's in this whole thing. But it's here, it works, and I'm just putting all the, all the code and all the project files out there, and if anyone else wants to work on it from there, go ahead. I could, but really it's just like, if anyone watching these videos wants the files, I can just give you that. That's good enough for me. And then, yeah, I guess if I was going to keep working on it, the next things after that would be to go beyond Limgrave and do Liurnia only, and then Caelid only, Leyndell only. And then I guess theoretically, once you have all that, then you could just do, okay, then it's the whole game. The whole game's randomized. And like I said, I just kind of go back to the fact that there's like a group of people working on the Elden Ring archipelago, and they've been at it for months, like a year maybe. I don't know. And given the choice, I've said this before, given the choice between normal Elden Ring and Convergence, I pick Convergence. I just find it more entertaining. So, yeah, I mean, of course, if I'm going to vibe code my own thing, I'm going to pick Convergence, and here it is. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. I also started working on a archipelago for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. And similarly, it's not the whole game. It would basically be up through Dresden, which is still a pretty significant run. But it's at least somewhat more manageable in scope. Monk's Knight Flame Mace +5. That's a pretty nice grab, I would say. Also, Dragonkin Bloodhound Claws +4. The world is our oyster. We could do whatever the fuck we want. Anywho, that's that. Yeah, I mean, I will just, you won't catch me really shit-mouthing AI. That's all I can say, because I get to do some just very cool things that I would ordinarily never be able to do. So that's that. Right, on this channel this week, we had Dominions, and I am hesitant to say, I'm hesitant to announce that I held off as long as I could, but I have started recording more Dominions. I couldn't help myself. I tried. I wanted to hold off until I had uploaded all the existing content, but it's just too good. It's too good of a game, man. Yeah, so there's that. And there's, you know, a very cool new Elden Ring nation mod that adds 9 nations based on Elden Ring. And it's pretty much like the highest quality mod, I would say, that's been put out for Dominions. So that's awesome. And we had Cultic. Nice little horror boomer shooter that's pretty sweet. And solo roll Mangg, which I do have a lot of videos for solo roll Mangg, but I understand that not everyone's super into that kind of thing. Inflicts soul burn. Mesmer Soldier's Godslayer Axe +1. The Sword of Hadia. First of the Crucible. That's probably a pretty good weapon, I would say, but the requirements are stupid. Still haven't fixed that. Fuck, I gotta fix that. Okay, give me a second. I don't want to forget that. Where is it? Okay. One of my first early tests of like killing a boss and randomizing the loot was this Erdtree avatar. And the first time it worked, I got that Exalted Flesh, Golden Seed, and Light Crossbow. And it has never changed off of that. It's been that every single time I've killed him, despite being assured that it had fixed the problem. It definitely did not fix the problem. So I don't know why. Tempted to just leave it in is just like, yep, that's the only thing that's not randomized. But no, I would prefer it randomized. Yeah, so, you know, I kind of had to give up in Pragmata. It just wasn't my bag, I guess. Compared to Dominions, come on. Let's be serious. Trying to think of any other. I just don't pay much attention to modern, you know, I'm playing like solo RPGs and Dominion 6 all the time and stuff. So I think if it wasn't for Lego and us doing Two Brothers Play, there probably would be a lot more Archipelago content from me, where I just sit down and play solo Archipelago runs. But considering that, ooh, Frenzy Claymore +5. Considering that most of what we do on Two Brothers twice a week for like 10 hours a week is Archipelago. I just never feel that much need to do solo stuff. I could glance at game releases right now, I suppose. There might be something worth talking about. Who's to say? Who's to say? But aside from that, I would probably say it'll be the rest of Cultic, maybe leading into Doom. I was recording a point-and-click adventure, The Dark Rites of Arkham, and I got like halfway through it or something, and then I got distracted by something else, and I stopped recording it, and then I just haven't gotten back to it, and now I kind of forgot the plot and stuff, so we'll see. don't know, there's a lot of, like I mentioned before, there's so many games that I like start recording. The number of games I've recorded one video for and then never again is pretty damn high. You know, like I recorded a video for like cooking simulator. So I was like, I like watching Food Network and stuff. Food is cool. I'll play this. And I played it once, and it's like, I always end up finishing the video with the full intention of going on. It's never like, okay, that didn't work for me. I'll just leave this here. I'm not going to upload this, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's always like, all right, yeah, I'll see you in the next part, blah. And then it's just, nope. As it turns out in my subconscious, the motivation is not actually there to continue. And it's not because they're really, really bad or anything. It's just they're not... It's just not amazing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Really, it's just like, at this point, though, I don't... I'm not striving to appeal to anyone in particular or impress anyone. I'm not striving to get views and subscribers and all that. So it's mostly just what I want to play. And mostly what I like to play is solo RPGs and Dominions. And that's okay. That's okay. I have thought about maybe doing like videos about RPGs. Like, you know, like I used to actually do a lot, like not a lot, but I used to do a decent amount of stuff in front of the camera for those that have been around for many years. And then I just stopped because it was kind of a hassle, and I was like, who am I trying to impress, sort of thing. But yeah, I used to do decent amount of stuff, like role manging for a while. There was a lot of stuff where I was just in front of the camera, sitting down and just talking about RPG stuff. Or I used to do like various board game things, like that Sherlock Holmes board game or some detective stuff in front of the camera. I read, you know, parts of 50 Shades of Grey in front of a camera, kind of thing, you know. So I thought, you know, it might be interesting to just like sit in front of a camera and just talk about like my thoughts on various things in the OSR, or just like review modules or some things like that. It's a very, very niche thing as well. But I have thoughts, I have opinions, you know. Some people might be interested. I don't know, like my solo RPGs, like I look at some other channels that do solo RPGs, and they're on camera, they're sitting at a table, they have like a journal and their dice, you know, and they go through it and they're narrating, and it's like this, you know, it's sort of, I guess, how the average person might play a solo RPG if they're really into that sort of tactile, physical process. Whereas, you know, me, I like, okay, I have Foundry. It's just a recording on my screen. It's extremely digital. I have AI making like enhancement modules for Foundry and stuff to make it cooler and easier and simpler and blah, blah, blah. So I guess I'm on the opposite end of the whole spectrum. But I mean, it might be interesting at some point to try sitting down with like a journal. But I don't like writing. I don't like physically having something in my hand and writing too much. But I guess, you know, it's not like you're writing a story. You're writing notes for the most part, and I do that occasionally when I'm DMing. But then the other part of it is, like, I tend to run pre-written modules. And I don't know if that's any better on a, I don't know if it's a better process to do just at a table with a journal compared to having it in Foundry with the whole map and everything. But we could run something that's not based on a pre-written module. I digress. This is far off. I mean, there's some other board game things that I would still be maybe interested in, like the Sherlock Holmes kind of game, even though it's fucking bullshit a lot of the time. The Mythos Tales similar board game. There's some stuff. I don't know. I guess I'm not eager to get in front of a camera, so I don't know why I haven't really done on camera stuff in a long, long time. And I don't think I'm really that, like, much of an expert in the OSR, so I probably shouldn't get on there and be like, this is how this should be done, and because it's like, what do I know? I've never played in an OSR game with a DM, and my players that I DM for are not the model sort of players. But maybe I guess that's a certain perspective. Is like, here's how to DM for bad people in the OSR. Except I don't really know how to DM for bad people. I don't know. I'm still floundering. I talked about that a little bit with Lego last night on stream, of like, there was a post in the, I think the OSR subreddit, where there was a DM and he was talking about how he's pretty certain that there's going to be a TPK at the start of their campaign or whatever, because he's bringing them into Tomb of the Serpent Kings, and he looked over their character sheets and he saw that the rogue was planning to go in with no food and no torches. And half the comments were just like, well, they'll learn, you know, they'll die, maybe they'll die a few times, and then they'll learn, they'll get better. And then the other half of the comments were like, you should just fucking tell them, because... Wow, what the fuck? You should just tell them, because what's the point? Like, their characters would know that. Their characters, the rogue would know you're going into a dark underground catacomb. You need to bring light, right? That's basic shit. And this is basic shit. Like, I feel like most people, if they didn't think of it immediately, as soon as you walked in and you said, okay, it's pitch black, you can't see anything, and they'd be like, oh fuck, we had to bring torches. We didn't bring torches. Like, I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't even lead to a TPK, especially in Tomb of the Serpent Kings, which has a very basic start. Like, you can't do anything until you have light. You know, it's like, I don't think it'll be a TPK, but I also don't think, like, it's kind of a waste of time. It's like, oh, you forgot to bring torches, you dumb fucks. Now you got to go all the way back to town to get it. And it's like, okay. But I think it highlights, I mean, in that specific scenario, it's pretty minor. It's pretty simple. But it highlights kind of a bigger divide, I suppose, between people and how they DM and stuff. And this is what I kind of asked Lego about, of what is the DM's responsibility for informing the players, especially when you talk about what their characters would know. And it's not necessarily the DM, I suppose. It just often is, especially for many groups, the DM will be the most knowledgeable player. The DM will be the one that has the most experience, that has read the most, that is familiar with the most, because that's why they're DMing for the others that are often new to the game. And so, if there was another player that was more experienced and knowledgeable, then it's not even a discussion. It's just like, hey, bro, you've got torches. Bring your fucking torches. Um, Whereas the DM, especially a lot of the times in the OSR, is meant to be this very impartial judge, this referee sort of thing. And the referee is the informer of the rules, not of how to play. You think about a referee in a sporting thing, they don't tell the players like, hey, you're kind of shooting the ball in a non-optimal way, bro. It's like, you broke a rule, this is the penalty, sort of thing. They're just an arbiter of the rules, and forgetting to remember torches is not anything to do with a rule. It's just dumb. Whereas others think of it more like a board game. And they do sort of think of it as more of like a rule, and they just think that it's a waste of time. It's just being mean, essentially. I think that was the sort of the kind of the prevailing thought, was it just being mean. Fuck. It's basically like someone teaching you a board game and then just not telling you one of the rules, and then like having a gotcha moment later. And they believe that a DM shouldn't have these kind of gotcha moments where it's like, oh, you didn't think of that, now you're fucked. I certainly lean more towards the former approach. I certainly lean more towards it is not the DM's job to tell you what your character knows or what's common sense or anything like that. The DM is there to be just sort of the window into the world and the sort of neutral arbiter of the rules and of NPCs' reactions and things. Because when I started playing, I picked up the game, RPGs, pretty quickly, and I understand all these common sense things and how the world works and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't want my DM to just interject and say, like, your character does this, your character knows this, or anything. Like, that's not his job, and I don't want him to say shit like that. And he was on the same page. Like, he understood that was not the DM's responsibility or purview. But then Lego, on the other hand, was on the other side. He believes that the DM should say, your character would know this. Your thief would know that this is how it works, or this is what it should be, or whatever. Your character would absolutely know that you should bring torches. Your character would know that green slime is dangerous, or something like that. Your character would know that undead never retreat. Your character would know that you need a silver weapon to damage a werewolf. All these things, and it's like, I find it a lot nicer, simpler, easier if the DM isn't the arbiter of what a character knows or doesn't know. Because who am I to say what a character knows or doesn't know? I mean, sometimes you can resolve things with, like, lore checks in certain games, intelligence checks, maybe. It's like, okay, we can maybe leave it up to a dice roll, but a lot of people are against that, too. And a lot of people just think, if I don't know it as a player, then that's it. And I gotta learn it as a player in some way. I gotta maybe ask an NPC or read a book or something like that. It's hard to say on that front. I probably lean a little bit more towards, like, my character might know it, but I have to ask. The DM will never just interject. But yeah, like common sense things, or just, yeah, like the bringing along a torch or something. I just don't think a DM should say that. And so that kind of, yeah, that was kind of an interesting little difference. And so I was like, so for Lego, like, I don't say enough. And I think for my group, I don't say enough. Like, they would prefer me much more to say, like, oh, hey, by the way, your character would know this. Your character would, like, in our session this week, my aunt picked up a flute that she found next to a corpse. And, again, like, it is kind of ingrained in me to just be like, okay, you pick it up, and that's it. That's the end of the discussion, because that is what happens. They say I pick it up, I say you pick it up. Done. And it's like a courtroom. Like, it is not my job to ask leading questions or anything like that, because I guarantee that there are DMs out there, knowing that it was filled with green slime on the inside, it was clogged with green slime on the inside, which is very dangerous. There would be DMs that would say, "Oh, do you inspect it before you put it in your bag?" Which is a very leading question, of course, because then the player's like, "Well, of course I'm going to inspect. Why would I not? The DM asked me if I'm going to inspect it. That's a good idea." You know, you ask these leading questions then, that it's like the answer's obvious then. I think a DM can ask clarifying questions, which players often misconstrue to be leading questions. But just prompting a thing, an action like that out of the blue, to me, that's a huge no-no. If they didn't say they inspected, then they didn't fucking inspect it. End of the discussion. Whereas, yeah, like I said, like, my players probably would much prefer that I ask leading questions, or that I say things that their characters would know. That I would say, like, hey, by the way, your character just found a flute next to a corpse. They probably would want to look it over or something. It's just, that's just not my job, bro. But they would prefer it, because that makes the game easier for them. And so I think that's kind of our fundamental difference. And I don't think my perspective is that uncommon in the OSR. I would say it leads more towards the norm. But at the same time, like, that discussion about whether the DM should tell them that they didn't bring torches, and that's a bad idea, that commentary was kind of split in half. The top comment was that absolutely he should say that they should bring torches. It was an interesting discussion, because it was like, well, these are obviously new players. And it was more of a discussion of what is the best way for new players to learn in the OSR. Is it better that they learn trial by fire, where they die because they're idiots or something about something? Or is it better for them to just be told, like, hey, look, this is a basic fundamental aspect? And so you go back to this kind of grognard take on it, of like, in the old days when D&D was first coming out and coming around and people were playing it for the first time as a group, they learned by just doing. They went through the trial by fire. They learned, like, hey, this is dangerous, this is bad. The first time you encounter green slime, the DM's not going to be like, hey, by the way, guys, this is a green slime. This is really fucking dangerous. Don't get it on you. It's like, no, you just learn, and then you have this ingrained knowledge. And that approach, I think, is very antithetical to a lot of modern gaming, including video games and stuff. You think about a lot of video games nowadays and the over-tutorialization of games compared to, like, the NES era or something, or old PC gaming. You know, now they kind of hold your hand through everything. They tell you everything. You got tutorial pop-ups for everything. Even Elden Ring. You fire this game up, you get bombarded with tutorial pop-ups for a lot of stuff. And there's, like, a little tutorial cave you go through and stuff. Compared to just, like, here's the fucking game, go ahead and learn it. And they do that, obviously, because most people do not want to play that way. They want to be held their hands a little bit to learn the rules and the basic mechanics and the basic design. So, yeah, I guess I would say that I'm a bit of a grognard in that case then. To a degree. And it's probably a slightly unfair perspective, because I do think that I am above average, at the very least, at playing RPGs and sort of figuring things out and problem solving and stuff like that, where obviously my family is not good at all, and they would enjoy a more casual game. So it's sort of hard for me to just sit here and say like, oh, well, that's not the way it should be played, and you're wrong and you're bad. It's just like, I don't know. But at the same time, I just find it really hard to DM in that style, and I don't know if I ever really will. See, here you go. This is the thing I could just sort of get I could get in front of a camera and I could have like a little thumbnail made up with my face on it, and the title is like, I'm not good with titles, obviously. I don't know. Like how easy should an old school game be, or something like that, like kind of clickbaity. You could go a lot more clickbaity, I suppose. Let them die. How to run an old school game. Hold on just a sec. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to wrap this up a little quickly, I guess. Hey, Justin? Right, yeah, okay, so I gotta wrap this up somewhat. So our session this week, yeah, I mean, which partly inspired that whole discussion. They went back to the castle. They got a new character. My aunt got a new character, Ricky the Rat, this little urchin thief character. And they went back in, blah, blah, blah. They ended up getting accosted by some bandits. It was a 1 in 6 chance every single time they go through the gatehouse, and then finally rolled a 1, so. Oh, just another Cisco. Sorry, the font, I have my window really minimized. Also, my eyesight is poor. So they finally, they encountered the bandits, who demanded, of course, all their money. And they didn't have that much, but they had enough that it felt bad. They gave up 14 gold. And then the bandits were like, oh, well, we'll be here waiting for you when you come back out. And they went in and they went to the sort of Mimic Tier Ashes +1. That's a good one to grab. They went to the courtyard. The outer courtyard or whatever it was. Where there was a big stone plug that leads down to the cistern. And so they pried that up, and they looked down, and it smelled like methane, and there was water down there and stuff. And they were ready to just plug it back up and move on. And then Bert made a comment to them about, you know, here we go again. Of just opening doors and looking away. So they're like, screw it, we're going down, we're going in. So they all went down there. Into the water down there, which is, of course, filled with 13 zombies, which is quite a dangerous little encounter, but Turn Undead in Shadow Dark is extremely good. So they, he basically disintegrated a bunch of them and scattered most of the others, and it was all easy peasy. And Dung Eater Puppet +5. They got some loot. they got some like free, like quite a bit of loot actually out of the this little gargoyle there. It was basically free loot. And then Bert suggested, hey, maybe there's more loot down below the water. And I get, you know, that's really unusual for me to actually make a suggestion like that as Bert. He usually doesn't speak up unless asked. But I was like, there's a 0% chance they check in the water, and there is there's loot down there. And it's just like, come on, guys, really, just get in this fucking mode of thinking. Like, they just cannot think of stuff. Like, anytime you ever encounter any, like, pool or pond of water, whatever, in a dungeon, you probably want to investigate. Intelligently, don't get me wrong, like, often those are filled with some sort of creature or monster or trap or something. Like, be intelligent about it, but often there's going to be loot in that pool of water. And there was. They found a chest, and they had a false bottom in the chest, and underneath that was some, like, pricey, expensive, valuable frog eggs. Then that's when they found the corpse in behind it in like a closet. They found a corpse with a flute next to it, and my aunt just decided to pick it up. And, you know, had she said anything about I take a look at it, I inspect it, whatever, I would have said okay. It's definitely clogged with some sort of green substance. But no, she said I pick it up, and then she put it in her bag. Okay, done. Then they continued on. They opened another door, and they encountered 3 witches. And there was a giant frog next to them, sitting in a chair, rocking back and forth. And they were brewing something in a big cauldron. And, I'll finish my thought. Just a second. It's gonna come to me. Right, yeah. So, they decided to kind of confront the witches and speak to the witches. And the witches, of course, were friendly and offered them some of their brew that they were making. And they're not so dumb of players that they're like, okay, we drink it up. They were suspicious of this, and my mom took some and pretended to drink it without actually consuming any. And so they're like, oh no, you gotta drink the whole thing. And yeah, they weren't on board, and so eventually I think Lego was just like, all right, I draw my weapon or something like that. So he broke into combat, and during the fight, you're just watching my cooking videos the other day. Somehow those still get views. Embarrassing as it is. During the fight, my aunt, playing Ricky the Rat, decided to pull out the flute from her bag and start playing it. And that was what she said. I pull out the flute and I start playing it. It's like, okay. You know, what do you want me to do? That's how it goes. Again, it's not the DM's job to say otherwise, except what happens. And what happens is, of course, the green slime emerges and latches onto her mouth. and she now has it on. And again, it's not my job to say, hey, that's a green slime. That's very dangerous. You got to burn it off. It's the only way to get it off. And if you don't, you'll turn into a green slime. You know, I have Bert there. Yes, he knows this. Yes. But he's not there to speak unprompted. And so they tried various things. They tried, like, rubbing the brew on it and going to the water and trying to splash it off and stuff. Then, like, 5 rounds after it was on her face, she's finally like, Bert, what do I do? And it's like, oh, well, shit, I wish you asked me sooner. That's green slime. You gotta burn it off. And then he's basically just like, yeah, it's too late. It's too late. And so she turned into a green slime, and then they used a military oil or whatever to melt it. And that was it. And that was the end of Ricky the Rat. Yeah, so they killed the witches. They killed the giant toad, which turned back into a prince, and they got his crown, which is worth, like, quite a lot of gold. And then they continued on, and they encountered this arena room filled with all these niches, and they started to hear squeaking, lots of squeaking, like sounded like hundreds of rats. And so they said, basically, screw this, and they ran through another door and nailed it shut. Honestly, probably the best bet. Like, the thousands of rat swarms would have just devoured them, so... Unless they had a good countermeasure in the form of probably magic or something. You think you would like my DM style better? All I can say is that it's what I would prefer. If I was playing in an OSR game, I would not want the DM to say all this shit. Like, that's my job. The DM has enough on his plate to handle. You know, his job is to run the world. My job is to run my character, and that's never the two shall meet, I guess. I don't tell him how to DM. He doesn't tell me how to play, and that's all good. But you know, yeah. I mean, absolutely casual players that don't want to. I guess it comes. Do you want to die in order to learn a lesson? And I think that's just a kind of a fundamental question you got to ask yourself if you're going to play an OSR game. It's like, are you okay with losing a character in order to gain knowledge about the game and the world for future characters? And not everyone is on board with that. And I'm not going to say one way is wrong or better or anything like that. It's just different. And I would say the having to die to learn a lesson is probably more the original intended way. Objectivity prevents those chains of assumptions. Right. And another thing is just like player agency, character agency, I think is very, very valuable. Nothing should ever take away a character's agency from a player. They're in control of their character. And so for me to then say, like, your character knows this or not, your character would think this or not, it's just not, it's not my realm, man. So... anyways, they went through the, I'll try to move this along now. They went through the door, they spiked it shut, and then I rolled a random encounter, and it ended up being the fucking pirate captain again, which was amazingly fortunate. That was very fun. So he comes down the hallway singing a sea shanty, and they were glad to hear it. And, you know, he still doesn't really love them too much because they seem like landlubbers, but the boys, his men liked them. And my mom tried to sing the song from Jaws very badly. She butchered it completely, but he liked her spirit. And I had them roll a reaction roll for him, and they rolled a 12. So I'm like, all right, he's really taking a liking to you guys, and he tells you guys that you should come aboard his ship, the Black Mary, out on the lake. And they were not super on board with climbing aboard a ghost ship out on the lake and never being seen again. So they politely, I guess, declined for now because they're trying to find their friend. You don't want spoilers or hints. You can't do a pure lucky run if your decisions are influenced. Well, I think we would say that by and large the goal of a good OSR player is that it's not really that lucky. Like, it's not influenced too much by luck. That's the idea, at least. There's always going to be some elements of luck because it's a dice-based game, but that's the thing, is like the more sort of player knowledge you can accumulate and the better you can actually get at gaming the system and making situations advantageous to yourself, the less luck comes into play and the more the player skill comes into play, which is every true OSR player's goal, is to be skillful at the game. And that's why I really like the OSR, because I like the idea that it's very skill-based. Whereas if I play something like D&D 5e or Pathfinder or something like that, it's mostly just like, okay, how well did you build your character, and then how lucky do you get in combat, sort of thing. You know. I just love the idea of problem solving, and I won this encounter because I know these things, I have experience, I have player knowledge, and I have successfully maneuvered things and planned things and, like fucking Batman my way to victory. That's what I like about it. And yeah, anytime the DM sort of influences things or shifts things, like Lego tried DMing an OSR game and he failed and floundered within like 10 minutes because he just could not abide the idea of him being a neutral arbiter. He couldn't stand this thing of just like, I'm supposed to just sit here and just let things happen. It's like, yes, that is your job. And he just couldn't accept that. Like, for him, he had to like start fudging dice rolls and things. He had to make sure that we succeeded, because otherwise, in his mind, what was the point if we didn't succeed? And it's like, that's why it's a game. Like, it's the same thing. You think of like a board game. It's like, okay, I mean, in his board game world, there would be no losers ever. Everyone would win. I think it's just sort of this fundamental broken mentality that just prevents him from really being a DM ever. And I would say even for like, yeah, like a modern RPG or something like Draw Steel, or like, you just can't DM that way. You have to be able to just accept failure, even when it's not your own failure. Skill versus turn-based really split the audience. Yeah, I don't think OSR games are for everyone. I think anyone that's into RPGs probably should give them a try, and ideally with a good DM that understands it, and ideally also with other players that maybe at least one player that is experienced with the OSR to sort of help you along and stuff like that. Because a full, fresh newbie group with a DM that is completely neutral and is not going to give you any hints or any advice or anything like that, like, yeah, it can be tricky, but there's a lot of video sources out there, resources. There's a lot of articles, blogs, books, and things like that. I think even a fresh group could come in and understand sort of the idea of an OSR game and not completely be helpless. But there is just a lot of like genre savviness and things like that that's going to be tricky, like knowing that a green slime is incredibly dangerous and has to be burned off of you. That's something that a lot of people are just not going to know until it happens to them. But again, I think mentality is probably the most important thing, of just being able to die and learn from it and be okay with it. But like I said, not everyone is going to have that mentality, and not everyone's going to enjoy that experience. Same as everything, you know, not everyone's going to enjoy everything. But I do think most people should probably give it a try and see if they like it. But you know, I like, so you know, I've played Pathfinder, played Draw Steel, I played 13th Age and stuff. Like, there's nothing wrong with those games. It's a different thing. He's a Roddenberryan. I would say that's probably pretty true. Yeah, I would say that's true. So, anyways, they left the pirate captain. They went through some more doors. They encountered a big room where there were 21 undead nuns dancing around this center column. And Lego, as the priest, decided that he has to kind of, you know, banish these undead. And he knows that turn undead is very overpowered. So he's just like, okay, I'm going to turn undead. And I think some DMs would probably have just given him the turn undead immediately and just let him roll and see what happens, and just basically just like a surprise attack. But I don't think that's really in the rules of things. It's not really a surprise. The undead nuns were all aware that the characters were there. And my general thought is that anytime someone is going to take a hostile action on either side, that's when initiative is rolled. And so, yeah, I mean, there aren't any really gimmies like that unless you actually ambush and actually pull off a surprise. That's the only time you get like a gimme. So, yeah, I mean, they rolled initiative. Lego did not win initiative. So, the undead nuns suddenly all turned and jumped on Lego and my nephew, and there were 21 attacks. It was pretty crazy. My nephew took 27 points of damage, which, yes, I think there's a realm where you argue that he was instantly shredded and he died. I would ordinarily very much agree with that interpretation. But the whole point of this campaign was that I wanted to run Shadowdark as closely to the book as possible, as much by the book as possible. And there is no rules in Shadowdark by the book for like massive damage or instant death or anything like that. The only rule is you hit 0 and you're down, and then you can be brought back up and stabilized or something. So there's no negative health or anything like that. So ordinarily, I would not agree with this interpretation, but I'm running it by the book. So he went down to 0, and then he got back up like 2 rounds later. Lego has very high AC, so he took some damage. He got quite lucky, I'll say, as well. But because there's also no modifiers or anything like that for like overwhelming numbers and being surrounded. I could have probably given them all advantage or something, but no, there's no rules for that. So by the book. So he took some damage, but he stayed up, and then he cast Turn Undead, and he did very well for himself. He blasted most of them. Partly because we're playing with pulp mode, so everyone has a lot of luck tokens to throw around. Like, I made it pretty casual for them, to say the least. But yeah, Turn Undead did pretty well, and they mopped up the last like undead nun or a couple of them that were left, and that was the end of it. And they got my nephew back up, and that was it. And afterwards, I was like, you didn't really plan that at all. You didn't like lure them into a bottleneck or anything like that. Like if that Turn Undead had not gone well, you would have all been dead, right? Because there was no plan of any kind. And they're just like, yeah, we didn't think. And that's always how it is. They're just like, yeah, we didn't think. And I know, like, what I've just all been talking about, the counter argument to that is, well, they should have died. They should have all completely died. They would have learned their lesson. Except we've been playing now for like 3 years. They have not learned any lessons, and they have died. Believe me. They have all died numerous times. They have not learned any lessons. So at this point, it's just like, I kind of give up. But anyways. Then they went into this other room. There was like this grill in the wall, like a confessional grill in the wall. And they spoke to this hermit that was kind of secluded in there. Like, he couldn't leave, and he was brought food sometimes. And he was like a nice enough fellow, but he was just said that he was atoning for his sins, and he's this is where he's meant to be. And so Lego, as a fellow priest, kind of talked to him and was able to get some reward out of him this key, this bat-shaped key for a room, and they don't know. They've never seen a bat-shaped lock or anything. They don't know what it's for. It's a massive castle, so they might never end up using it, but they got the key. And speaking of leading / clarifying questions, there was a statue nearby of a priest. And the book says that if they pray to it or ask it for guidance, they get a permanent +1 bonus to their wisdom. But if they, like, disparage it or insult it in any way or something like that, they get a -1 to their wisdom. And I was like, who the fuck's going to disparage a statue of a priest? You know? My mom goes over to it. She inspects it. She looks it over. And she just says, like, it's worthless. I don't know. It's worthless. And so I was like, do you say that out loud? Do you say it's worthless? And she says, yes. And I'm like, okay. Like, that seems pretty clear cut to me. Permanent -1 to your wisdom. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, it seems like a really leading question for me to ask if she says out loud that it's worthless. But I get, like, if she said it's worthless, she said it out loud at the table. I assume she was telling the other players, meaning that she was telling the other characters. So it's like, it's not that ridiculous. I could have just ruled immediately that it was permanent -1. But yeah, she clarified. She definitely said it out loud. So there you go. Because I suppose, to be fair, you never know. Saying it's worthless out loud might be a good thing. It might unlock like a little closet and you get a ring or something. Like, who knows? But yeah, and that's where we kind of ended the session. So, not amazing. They lost another character. They did multiple dumb things, of course. But that's par for the course. They're really only continuing to survive because they have level 3 hit points. And also Shadow Dark is very generous. And we're using Pulp mode, so they have a lot of luck tokens every session. But, you know, they're mostly enjoying the experience. So how angry can I really be? And at least they went down into the cistern, they opened doors, they did stuff, you know, like, okay, good, that's better. They learned that lesson at the very least. Just do stuff. It's at least more interesting. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for me. So more Dominion 6 this week, more solo role manging, more Two Brothers play stuff, more cultic. Although, I think there's only a couple cultic videos left. And over on the Exploring series, which I didn't even discuss, but yeah, it was part 2 of There Is No Anti-Memetics Division, and now it's going to be part 3 of There Is No Anti-Memetics Division, followed by part 4. Great stuff. But alright. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg, and I will see you fine folks next week.